Did you know that medieval Europeans ate fruits so rare they've completely vanished from our modern tables? I'm not talking about your everyday apples or pears. These were exotic, bizarre fruits that shaped diets, cultures, and even economies centuries ago. What if I told you some of these lost treasures were so prized they were worth more than gold, or that one was believed to cure diseases in a single bite? Stick around, because today we're diving into the forgotten world of medieval cuisine to uncover 5 fruits you can't find anywhere today. And trust me, their stories will blow your mind. Picture this. It's the year 1350, and you're strolling through a bustling medieval market in England. The air is thick with the scent of fresh bread, roasted meats, and something sweet yet unfamiliar. Merchants shout about their wares, and there, tucked between sacks of grain, are fruits you've never seen before. These weren't just snacks. They were symbols of wealth, health, and sometimes even divine favor. But why did these fruits disappear? And could they make a comeback? Let's travel back in time and find out. Oh, and drop a comment below. What's the weirdest fruit you've ever tried? I'm curious. First up, let's talk about the medlar, a fruit so strange it was nicknamed the open arse fruit. Yes, you heard that right. This small, brown, apple-like fruit was a medieval superstar, grown across Europe from France to Germany. Unlike modern fruits, medlars weren't eaten fresh. They had to be bledded, a fancy word for letting them rot until they were soft and mushy. Sounds gross, right? But to medieval Europeans, this was a delicacy. Imagine a flavor like spiced applesauce with a hint of wine. Perfect for winter feasts when fresh fruit was scarce. Nobles loved serving medlars at banquets to show off their wealth, and peasants treasured them for their long shelf life. The medlar's downfall? It was high maintenance. Bledding took weeks, and as trade routes expanded, sweeter, easier to eat fruits like oranges stole the spotlight. By the 17th century, medlars were fading fast, and today, you'd be lucky to find one outside a historical garden. Fun fact, medlars were so beloved that Chaucer mentioned them in the Canterbury Tales. Have you ever heard of a fruit that needs to rot before you eat it? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to know. Now, before we move to our next fruit, imagine you're a medieval merchant sailing across the Mediterranean. You've got a cargo hold full of something so rare it could make you richer than a king. What is it? The citron, a fruit that was practically a celebrity in medieval Europe. This lemon-like fruit, with its thick, bumpy rind and barely any juicy flesh, wasn't eaten for taste. It was a status symbol. Citrons were imported from the Middle East and North Africa, making them insanely expensive. A single citron could cost as much as a horse. Why the hype? Medieval people believed citrons had magical healing powers. Doctors prescribed citron rind for everything from fevers to snake bites, and churches used them in rituals, claiming their scent drove away evil spirits. In England and France, only the ultra-rich could afford citrons, and they'd display them like trophies. But here's the kicker. Citrons were tough to grow in Europe's cold climate, and as trade shifted to more practical fruits like lemons, citrons vanished from markets. Today, you might find citron in niche desserts like fruitcake, but the medieval version? Long gone. If you could bring back one ancient fruit for its healing powers, would you pick the citron? Drop your answer below. Speaking of exotic imports, let's shift gears to a fruit that sounds like it belongs in a fairy tale. The quince. This golden pear-shaped fruit was a medieval favorite, especially in Spain and Italy, where it was turned into jams, jellies, and even savory dishes. Quinces are rock-hard and sour when raw, but cook them down and they transform into a sweet, fragrant delicacy with a rosy hue. Medieval cooks were obsessed. They'd pair quinces with meats or serve them as a dessert to impress guests. Quinces were also tied to mythology. Some scholars think they were the golden apples of Greek legends. So why did quinces disappear? They're tricky to prepare, requiring hours of cooking, and as sugar became cheaper, people turned to sweeter, low-effort fruits. By the Renaissance, quinces were losing ground, and today they're almost impossible to find unless you hunt down a specialty orchard. Here's a challenge. If you stumbled across a quince at a farmer's market, would you dare try cooking it? Let me know in the comments. But wait, there's a fruit even wilder than the quince, and it's one that medieval peasants and nobles alike went crazy for. Say hello to the sloes, those tiny tart berries that grew wild across the British Isles and northern Europe. Sloes look like mini plums, but bite into one, and your face will pucker from the sourness. Medieval people didn't eat sloes raw. Instead, they used them to make sloe gin, a boozy drink that warmed them through harsh winters. Sloe bushes were everywhere, so even the poorest peasants could forage them, while lords stockpiled sloe gin for lavish feasts. The catch? Harvesting sloes was brutal. The bushes are thorny, and tradition said you had to pick sloes after the first frost for the best flavor. As commercial alcohols like whiskey rose in popularity, sloe gin faded, and with it, the demand for sloes. Today, sloe bushes still grow wild, but the art of sloe gin is a rare craft, and the fruit itself is a ghost of the past. If you could forage one medieval fruit, would sloes be your pick? Hit the comments and tell me. Finally, let's end with a fruit so mysterious it was practically a legend, the Cornelian cherry. Don't let the name fool you. This isn't a cherry, but a bright red, olive-sized fruit that grew in Eastern Europe and parts of Germany. Cornelian cherries were tart, juicy, and packed with flavor, making them a hit in medieval kitchens. They were dried, turned into sauces, or fermented into wine. What made them special? They were believed to boost strength and longevity. Warriors ate them before battle, and monks praised them as a gift from God. But Cornelian cherries had a fatal flaw. Their trees took decades to bear fruit, and as faster-growing crops like apples took over, farmers abandoned them. By the 18th century, Cornelian cherries were nearly extinct in Europe, and today you'd need to trek to a remote forest to find one. Imagine discovering a fruit that could make you live longer. Would you hunt down a Cornelian cherry? Share your thoughts below. So there you have it, 5 medieval fruits that once ruled European tables but have vanished into history. The medlar, with its quirky rotting process. The citron, a healer's dream. The quince, a cook's challenge. The sloes, a peasant's treasure. And the Cornelian cherry, a warrior's secret. These fruits weren't just food. They were woven into the fabric of medieval life, from markets to myths. Why did they disappear? Trade, taste, and time moved on, leaving them behind. But here's the exciting part. Some farmers and historians are trying to bring these fruits back. Imagine tasting a medlar pie or sipping sloe gin at a modern feast. If you could revive one of these fruits, which would it be? Drop your pick in the comments, and let's start a debate. Oh, and if you loved this dive into medieval food, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. You won't want to miss our next adventure into the past. Trust me, we've got more shocking secrets coming your way.